when I try to put myself in the shoes of what was going on back then. Because a lot of our families weren't freedom fighters. Black, white, colored, Indian, not all of our families were freedom fighters. I know a lot of people whose parents were, and they speak about the dynamics in the house, and those are the stories that are the big stories. It's very rare to hear the everyday things, because I think the everyday stories or the day-to-day is quite underwhelming.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the On the Country podcast.
Am I allowed to swear there?
Yeah, I know he said let's not blame the government.
It's just sad when we start then becoming indoctrinated. No view on me.
Hi guys, I'm Emilio, Tobias, and this is the On the Country podcast, where we discuss anything and everything and we ask the difficult questions. Cannot be offended at questions. Can only be offended at questions if you know the answer is going to contradict you and everything you stand for. Ladies and gentlemen, I think a big thing that happened this week, Thabo Mbeki's speech at some ANC veterans, some controversies with veterans type of setup. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but he gave a speech and essentially he spoke about Jacob Zuma, I think implying that he is a apartheid-aligned spy, a counter-revolutionary. Some of the things they fought against within their ranks, and some of those things later then emerged here and there. I want to react to the video with you guys, but the interesting thing is that this thing raises questions and it makes me realize, I don't know if everyone else is going to feel like this, but like, we don't know what was going on during apartheid. Like, revolutions are messy, especially against your main opponent. And then there's the fights within the revolution movement. And those things kind of should be squashed once we win, but they are not. And I think it goes back to that thing. You know the thing where they say, history is written by the victor. And because it's written by the victor, the story of the loser is not told accurately. We must remember, ANC won the liberation war, or the fight for liberation against apartheid and colonialism. So everyone, the opposition, whether it's the Afrikaner regime or the apartheid regime, whether it's the other ones within the revolution, whether it's their fights against the IFP and other black and African movements that were supposedly with them, but also there were those internal fights. Because ANC has won, we must remember that likely the stories of the IFPs and the this and that was also not accurately or fully fleshed out for us to have a full understanding of what apartheid was exactly within the struggle and then just the day-to-day lives. I saw a podcast with a guy that I started following now, Kumalo, who answers that question better than anyone for me. When I try to put myself in the shoes of what was going on back then. Because a lot of our families weren't freedom fighters. Black, white, colored, Indian, not all of our families were freedom fighters. I know a lot of people whose parents were, and they speak about the dynamics in the house, and those are the stories that are the big stories. It's very rare to hear the everyday things, because I think the everyday stories or the day-to-day is quite underwhelming. And Kumalo really sometimes speaks on that. It gives me a real sense of what was going on. Because we must remember, political messaging is political messaging. Yes, you might agree with ideology, but you must remember it's also marketing. It's also marketing, like a Verimark advert. Have you seen that before, Verimark advert, when they show you the product that you are using now and the new product? They both exaggerate how bad the old product is and they exaggerate how good the new product is. Now, I'm not saying apartheid is exaggerated, but my point in saying that is saying political messaging and political fights are like marketing. Is marketing. You need to make the burger look a certain way. You need to drive the message home. Now let's listen to what Mbeki said, and then more on me as I get older, as apartheid goes further and further away, and we are becoming more and more liberated. Like it or not, we're not moving as fast as we want, but I think we are progressing, however slow it is. But let's listen to Mbeki and what he said, and what this means for South Africa today, and what's the play? What are we doing? You know?
There's a part of the national security management system. There's a small township, I'm talking about 93, 94, a small African township in George in the Western Cape. What is its name? I can't remember. Kamaletu. Now, that township, I'm talking 93, 94, had 93 agents of the special branch. The special branch only. In addition to which there were agents from military intelligence and national intelligence. Small African township, but flooded with these agents of the apartheid system. I'm mentioning that comment to say,
imagine now you are living in that township and you've always suspected your neighbor. Or you've been running away from allegations that you were a spy. And now it comes out. Now you look at your neighbor like, yay, bro. Bro. I always knew you were the one that called the cops on me.
that was part of the structure of the national security management system in the African townships. A system of agents in all our townships were part of the national security management system, ready to be activated in defense of the apartheid system. Let me jump to the 2024 national and provincial elections. You have this result, one of the results. A new organization called the MK Party suddenly gets this huge support in KZN. Gauteng a bit, Mpumalanga a bit. Why? And suddenly the ANC drops to whatever. Why have this population suddenly decided in KZN to abandon the ANC in these numbers? I had my own differences with the ANC leadership, provincial. But that was not why you had that result. The reason we had that result is because I'm coming back, comrades, to what I was saying about the national security management system. It was the activation of that national security management system which produced that result. Because that machinery had never been dismantled. I was saying we raised this matter with the TRC. The TRC tried. You go and look at the records of the TRC. The TRC tried to get into this matter, but couldn't produce any result. That was the machinery that was used to produce that result in KZN. You see its phenomenon, for instance, with the Gauteng hostels. You remember during this so-called war on black violence, those were IFP hostels. When we big clash with the ANC communities, IFP decide themselves. These were IFP hostels. But what happened in 2024? They all abandoned the IFP and went with the MK party. Why? It's because they are controlled by the same person. It's the same person who controlled them when they were IFP hostels. The same person who controlled them when they were IFP hostels, the same person who controls them today as MK hostels, MK party hostels. I'm saying, comrades, that's the counter-revolution. That's how it works.
So there's the shot that was fired. That's the shot that was fired. It appears that he's saying Zuma is now revealed in getting those votes for MK Party as the person who was in charge of that body all along. That was in charge of that machinery all along. It sounds like sleeper agents, sounds like networks, and these networks appear to be sleeper networks that can be activated at any time that could have been activated any time in the last 30 years. And then he goes on to say that that same mechanism is the one that was used in the riots, I think. Now let's carry on.
Let me end here. I've gone way beyond my 15 minutes. You have you have a mayhem that happens in July 2021. You remember that? Yeah. And the story that is told is that the people were angry with the ANC because the ANC had allowed Jacob Zuma to be sentenced by the Constitutional Court and was sent to jail. And the people were so angry, they stood up in solidarity with Jacob Zuma. It's a lie. A complete lie. What happened, comrades, was the counter-revolution decided to test its strength, to see whether it could in fact destabilize the country. It then acted, caused that whole mayhem, just to find out whether it could in fact paralyze South Africa for its own purpose. There's a very interesting interview given by General Roland de Vries.
So I don't know if he's saying that is Zuma or is not Zuma, or if the reasoning just aligned up nicely as an opportunity to figure out if that sleeper cells are still active, if they're still in the game. So if Zuma is accusing everyone of being spies in apartheid, and people are now accusing him of being a spy or agent for the apartheid regime, like who's who and who does what? How bad, bruh, like I can't even begin to imagine how difficult politics is in that environment. I don't know if you guys have seen Survivor, the politics in Survivor, or the gameplay in Survivor. I think it's that level, and it's that interesting, but it's not happening over 39 days. It's happening over 39 years. And it's going to be so difficult for us who are too young to know apartheid or weren't even there at all, to have a real idea of what this thing was. Because these people, the anti-apartheid people and the apartheid people, were having meetings. We're speaking with each other as though to negotiate this and that, and give or take some here, give or take some there. Just very interesting as to what's going on. The person I really want to hear from on what this is Iko Malo. I really wish he does speak on it, because we have many questions, and the main question is, what was it like, really? Because these things that we are fighting for now is Mickey Mouse compared to what you all were fighting for back then. But anyway, this is On the Contrary with Emilio Tobias. Please do like, share, subscribe, and you can become a member or you can give a super thanks. It's like $1 or $2, guys. What is that? It's really nothing. I'll see you again. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the On the Contrary podcast.
Am I allowed to swear there?
It's weird.
Yeah, I know we said let's not blame the government.
It's just sad when we start them becoming indoctrinated.
No view on me.